No, you shouldn't have a carousel or a slider on your website. Let's find out why. Imagine you're reading a book and you start to read, and then suddenly, all of out of nowhere, the page just automatically turns, and suddenly you've lost where you are and you're feeling a bit confused, like all that movement and the text you're reading is not there anymore. It's like that would be annoying. You wouldn't want that, right? So here's the statistics. Of all the visitors, only 1% click a slide. 84% of those clicks are on the first slide, meaning the remaining slides combined receive a paltry 16% of the clicks. So why is this, and why do clients want them? There are a few reasons why clients want carousels. They want to put all their content at the top of the site, especially on the landing page, because they think all of their content is important. However, putting all of your content in a carousel vastly deprioritizes it, so it appears unimportant. They think their customers don't want to have to scroll. Yet countless studies show that users scroll, and if you want your users to see all of your content, then they're more likely to scroll than to click through a carousel. Clients like it because it sort of brings movement, it's flashy, they think it brings attention to their products or their services, but it's exactly that movement which is the problem. And once you remove the auto-rotating aspect of a carousel, clients aren't so keen on them. Clients also believe that having lots of products and images and slides leads to more conversions, which isn't usually the case. And the worst of them all is just the mentality that just because somebody else is using a carousel or slider, that they should be doing it as well. So let's take a look at why carousels and sliders are generally not good for accessibility and usability, and generally lead to lower conversion rates. So let's just go to I've set up a slider that we can have a look at. Now, first of all, we can see there's the movement, and we can see that each of the slides is moving along and doesn't really give me enough time to interact with it or read the text, which for a lot of users, moving elements like this or feeling like you're out of control on the website will you basically just lead to users ultimately just doing what they always do, which is to scroll past whatever it is that is moving on the page, because it's just too much, and then the movement is just too much for a lot of people. Also, low literacy users or users that do not speak English, when they start to read this and then suddenly it moves. Myself, I'm not a very fast reader, so when I have to read something like this and then suddenly it moves, it's really awful for me. I can't keep up with it, and again, my brain naturally just wants to scroll right past it. Now, also having just a single item visible at a time, say this wasn't just services we were offering, and say it was products, having one single item on display at any one time really won't lead to a user finding what they want. And then most importantly, because it's moving, a lot of users will, and including myself, will assume that these things are an advert and will most likely just ignore them. So what am I talking about here? Banner blindness, which is a well-known web user behavior. And what it is it describes people's tendency to ignore page elements that they perceive to be correctly or incorrectly to be adverts, and therefore they just scroll on by. Just to reiterate something I've said before, that putting all of your content into a slider like this basically deprioritizes. So are we saying that uh, graphic design and social media integration is less important than website design and digital marketing? Who knows? Based on this, it would imply that these things are less important, when actually all of these things, in my opinion, are important in good web design and good marketing. If you have to use a slider or a carousel, and I would recommend that you do not use these things for advertising your services or your products or whatever it is that you do. But if you do, these are my top 3 tips. So let's have a look and see what my recommendations would be. So first of all, let's look at the first slider I showed and see what I would change about it. So first of all, as we've already discussed, moving elements don't work so well. So the biggest one is do not use auto rotating or auto advancing because of all the things I've previously mentioned. It's just annoying. The second one is clear navigation. If we look at this one here, I have no means of going to and from, although there are these dots at the bottom that really don't mean anything when I look at them. They're just dots. They're also really small and hard to click on. So we need to make sure we have clear navigation. And so at the bottom here, my third tip is to change these dots into something more useful. So let's go and look at one that I would say is improved, but again, I would not use a slider or a carousel. So let's click over to here. Now first of all, it does not auto rotate, it just stays there. I can also see on the left and the right, I can see that we have an arrow that goes forward and backwards between the slides. There's titles telling me where it's going to and from. And also I can see at the bottom that rather than having those silly little dots that are inconsequential and meaningless, there are actually buttons that I can click on to go straight to a particular slide, and then it gets there and it stops and I can read it. Now, in my opinion, the overall design has now become a little bit convoluted because there's call to actions, there's buttons at the bottom, there's an arrow to the left and the right. What are you really asking your customer, client, visitor to do is really unclear. Again, this is why I wouldn't bother with it. So, what can we do instead? So, anything really is better than all of that moving kerfuffle going on. My recommendation would be to have a clear, to use a hero image. So let's move to actually what we have on our actual website. And here we have a hero image. It's clear. We have a clear title of what we do and how we can help you. We've got a Google review score here, and we've got call to actions on what we would like our potential client or customer to do next. Now, it's way easier building these things as a developer, and it's much better for your potential clients and customers. Now, if you wanted to, you could change this. You could not just publicize a service, but you could have your top product or your top service, or generally you're just trying to guide your potential client or customer onto what you would like them to do next. In our case, we'd like them to come and give us a call so we can start a conversation with them. If you really wanted to up your game though, change that background image into a really nice video, and that will help like tell the story of your product or your services. And video is incredibly engaging, so if you can up your game in that regard, that would be amazing. Now, if you have any further questions or queries, I'm Stuart from Click Return. I'm the graphic design and web designer, and you can get in touch with us at clickreturn.co.uk, and I will see you in the next video.